All right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started. I want to introduce Rick Hefner. I don't think he really needs an introduction. I think we all know him and know him well, hopefully, except I have to tell you, I would like you to tell us what your background, your educational background is, because I know you're a doctorate. Where'd you go? All that stuff.
Okay, so here. So my formal training is in engineering. I got my bachelor's and master's from Purdue University. Go Boilers, boiler up. Back in 19, and then I got my PhD also in mechanical engineering from UCLA. And I spent most of my life in the aerospace and defense world. I worked at the Aerospace Corporation here in El Segundo. I worked at Northrop Grumman, or TRW originally, and they got acquired by Northrop Grumman. Also there, I spent 13 years at Aerospace, 23 years at TRW/Northrop Grumman. And for the last 10 years, I've been at Caltech, California Institute of Technology up in Pasadena. So my job up there is I run the professional training group for Caltech. So I have a small staff, and I have a group of 50 instructors which teach all kinds of different courses, including artificial intelligence. So, and I teach a little about artificial intelligence myself. It's been a fun area. Let's see, we'll go ahead and use this. I think we're sharing. Everybody can hear me online too? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Yes, had to unmute myself.
You can check, you can hear it online?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
No?
Yes. Yes, from Sheila.
Can you hear me online, through the online system? Or do I need to turn my speakers on here?
Apparently you can't hear us because I'm saying yes.
Rick, this is Alden. You hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we
I
can
can't
hear you.
anything from them. Maybe turn this on.
We can hear you. We can hear you,
Well,
Rick.
let's see. Let's try it this way. There we go. Okay, so I think I'm hearing everybody. Can somebody online say that they can hear me?
We
This
can
is
hear
Alden.
you,
I
Rick.
can
hear
hear you,
you.
Rick.
Perfect, great. Okay, good. So I'm going to just give a little talk to you about artificial intelligence. I've been in engineering now for over 40 years, and I have never seen any technology which is so revolutionary. I mean, it has already dramatically changed how we live our everyday lives. And in the next 5 years, it is going to blow your mind. It is going to be amazing. The things that they're researching, the cusp that we are on, the advances are really quick. So I'm happy to talk about any aspect of it, but what I really want to do is kind of show you some of the applications that are already in our life, talk a little bit about where artificial intelligence is going, but it is something that's really, really significant for all of us and will really change our lives and our children's lives. So let me start by just talking about what is artificial intelligence. So the term was coined to talk about a machine, typically a computer or a robot, having artificial intelligence if it can interpret data and potentially learn from that data and then do something to achieve a goal, okay? And so we think of it kind of as mimicking the human brain. It's artificial intelligence as opposed to sort of natural intelligence. And it's a really, really big field. It incorporates there's lots of different aspects. We talk about things like machine learning. We're going to talk more about that. A lot of artificial intelligence deals with speech. They call these large language models or natural language processing, NLP, which means the ability for a computer for you to talk to a computer and understand it. So when you talk to your Siri or your Alexa, and it can understand what you're asking about, what time is it, set a timer for what time does Home Depot open, all those kind of things, that's all part of it. It's also vision. We're going to get into a lot of the vision systems because I think that's really where the direction is, to be able to look at a situation and tell something that's going on. How many people have a Ring doorbell? at home. Okay, Ring has artificial intelligence in it. It can look at traffic and it can tell the difference between birds flying by and somebody walking up to your door. And it recognizes this is a human at your door as opposed to a leaf that flew by, etc. Expert systems, we're going to talk about, is a big about it. Robotics is increasingly big. And I don't mean robotics by just like it's a robot, it's a human walking around like iRobot, the movie, right? Robotics can be any kind of mechanical system where there's motion or there's a response, physical response to this kind of stimuli, to this artificial intelligence. So let's see. Interesting that it actually started back in the 50s. This is the genesis of artificial intelligence. A bunch of people who were doing research in this kind of emerging computer science field got together and started kind of sharing ideas about things. Most of us became aware of artificial intelligence in 1997. Okay, this was a class called expert systems. Okay, and so this was the IBM computer Deep Blue, and Deep Blue was a chess playing program, and it beat Garry Kasparov, who was the reigning chess champion, worldwide chess champion at the time, beating very convincingly, and he was very upset about that. And we started hearing about this. Now, this is a class called expert systems. Expert systems basically have a wide range of knowledge. So in this case, Deep Blue knew the rules for playing chess. It had lots and lots of ability to understand chess moves. And all it did was a good chess player thinks ahead about 7 or 8 moves. Okay. Deep Blue could think ahead 12 moves. So it could basically outthink Kasparov and humans. And so it just worked out all the chess moves and decided from all those possible moves which was the most optimal move, just the same way in individual work. It didn't learn, it didn't get any better, it didn't get any smarter, it just could think ahead. It just had a huge database of knowledge. That's the idea of an expert system. That's kind of passé now. We've gone way beyond expert systems into things. It's interesting, many of us probably also remember the Jeopardy, 2011, Watson, IBM's Watson, played Jeopardy. Jeopardy is a really interesting game. It's a confusing game. Ever explain it to a child or something? Well, why are they answering in the form of a question? Or what the categories mean and how the category influences your answer. If it's potables, right, is the category, you know it has something to do about drinks, you know drinks are going to be in the answer. That's a really difficult thing to explain. And that was the most difficult thing to explain to Watson, was just how to play the game. Once they explained it, Watson had access to every piece of information on the internet. So of course it's gonna beat any human champion, just because they can do that. The only thing they had to do, the only thing that was complicated was explain this context of what does it mean to have a category and what does it mean to answer in terms of a question.
Yeah, so one way to think about it is, how do you explain the rules of chess? Well, there's a set of rules of chess, and you can write them down.
Yes.
How do you explain the rules of Jeopardy? It's kind of impossible. There's so many moves you could make.
Yeah, it's interesting. About the same time too, they also applied expert systems to the Chinese game Go. So Go is actually a much more complicated version of chess. And the interesting things was they started recognizing that they could take one computer program that knew how to play Go, and they could pair it up with another computer program, and they could just let them play a billion games over the weekend. And they would learn which strategies worked better. And one of the interesting things that surprised all the AI researchers were that the computers started showing strategies that no human had ever come up with. And they very quickly, the AlphaGo, which was the chess, which was the Go playing computer at the time, very quickly started beating all the world champions, and then started playing strategies that the world champions had never seen, did not understand, and only would have to look at and stare at later on and say, oh my God, that was brilliant, right? But we had never envisioned a strategy like that. So that was the first thing to really recognize, hey, maybe we could make systems that do this sort of learning. So that leads to the current branch, and most of the really interesting work that's going on now is in this field called machine learning. And so machine learning has its basis in statistics. They're basically algorithms, and what they do is they imitate the synapses of the human brain. Now, it's not exact model, it's more conceptually, it's the same kind of thing, but that's the basic idea. You put a bunch of synapses together, and the way we learn things is the way the computers are now learning things, the same thing. So what kind of things can we learn in machine learning? Well, let's see if we get our, all right. You can combine machine learning now with vision, and like some of they call this machine vision, right? And so what you could say is learn what different plants look like, okay? So this is just a bunch of plants, they fit it into it. And now I have an app on my phone, and I can go up to a plant, point the camera of my iPhone, and say, what plant is that? And it will tell me, plant, tree, bush, animal, right? With really high degree of accuracy. And it's not finding a matched picture. What's happened is they've trained the algorithm. So basically, there's several ways they can train an algorithm. They can give an algorithm a bunch of pictures of squirrels and say, these are all squirrels. These are all cats. These are all dogs. And then it'll show it a picture and it'll say, well, gee, this looks more like the pictures of squirrels you've shown me, right? And it eventually learns there's all kinds of different squirrels. So you show it an albino squirrel and it says, well, gosh, this looks more like a squirrel than a dog or a cat. The color's just wrong, but I guess squirrels can come in white. Okay, we'll do that. Okay. So that's what they call supervised learning. They give it some algorithm. There's unsupervised learning where I just give it a bunch of pictures and I say, hey, these are different things, figure this out. So I could give it all these pictures and it could say, well, I recognize that the foxtail is different than the ragweed. Let me figure out, I know those are two different things. I don't know what they're called, but I know those are two different things. And then it basically just figures that kind of stuff out and it learns on its own. This is unsupervised learning, okay, where it figures out itself. It could even just give it a bunch of pictures and not even tell it what it's doing, but says, your idea is to try to sort out these pictures into different categories, and it will sort these all out. And they've done things like gene splicing theory, where they've sorted things out like now. These kind of machine learning algorithms are completely revolutionizing healthcare because we can now recognize disease, we can recognize patterns. I'll talk more about that in a minute. The big thing, one of the big areas for this is agricultural application. So they're doing things like recognizing weeds in the field, etc. They're one of the really interesting applications is in harvesting oranges, right? Currently, people climb up in ladders, they look in the trees, they see a bunch of oranges, some of them are orange, some of them are still green, they find the orange ones, they pick them, right? Nowadays, that's all done by robots. Robots have a little camera, a little picking hand, and they reach up, the camera looks at the orange, decides if it's ripe enough, and if it is, it harvests it, if it doesn't, leaves it open. And the camera tells the hand where to grab it, okay? Think of that. All of our crops being harvested by robot. So we're gonna, people say, are robots, are we gonna eliminate jobs? Absolutely, right? The automobile eliminated all the blacksmith jobs. And this is gonna eliminate all these jobs, all the help desks. We'll talk about that more later on. But I wanna show you a little video. Here's just an example of one of the companies we're working with, John Deere, and a system that they built for agriculture. So.
seeing lots of resistance to Roundup. We're looking for other ways to combat the weeds and still have cost savings on top of everything.
We saw an opportunity to take cameras, computers, and artificial intelligence to allow ag machines to see every plant in a field. We thought that we could give farmers the ultimate flexible tool to treat their field and manage their field in whatever way they wanted by having the knowledge of every plant and its situation and an ability to spray very precisely, whether it be herbicide only to the weeds or fertilizer or fungicide directly on each plant that needed it.
Each field they go to has a different set of conditions, and they need to be able to adjust and correctly set that machine's performance for the field. One knob could be the protection of the cotton plant and how big of a buffer, a safe zone that we provide the plant so that when we apply selective materials or non-selective materials that we have the appropriate buffer. Another dial is how aggressive do you want to be at going after anything that looks like a weed. There's also some opportunities to inform the grower of how many weeds the system's seeing, even what kinds of weeds exist in the field, that they can start to tailor their herbicide programs towards those weeds.
The cameras and computers on a See and Spray machine are using deep learning algorithms that are similar to what's used in facial recognition. The first time we saw a pigweed, the machine didn't know what kind of plant it was, but we taught it by giving it tens of thousands of examples of that pigweed, and now it's an expert in pigweed. We save up to 90% of the amount of herbicide that you would spray if you were spraying the entire field.
The weeds have become a little bit more of a pest than what they were originally. They've become resistant to a lot of the herbicide that we've been using on them.
With the rig, we have other options open to us. We can spray different chemicals that we're not able to spray before. We can take one man and put him on a tractor, and we can do the work of 8 to 10 people.
We're seeing no end to the use of this technology. Essentially, anything that may be cost prohibitive or more difficult to do when you're spraying on a broadcast basis, but much more grower beneficial if we're spraying on a very precise basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think most of us have a view of tractors from Green Acres, right? Right, it's not your grandfather's tractor anymore. Current tractors are autonomous. They work with satellite technology. They're self-driving. The typical farmer now goes out in the field, starts the tractor, and gets off and goes in and has its breakfast while the tractor's out doing its business. In this particular area, the previous status was I had a field full of crops and full of weeds, and I wanted some of the crops weren't healthy and they needed fertilizer, but I can't figure out what that is, so I just put fertilizer down over everything. Some of the weeds are there. I want to kill them with herbicide, but I can't figure out where they're. So I just put herbicide over everything. Think of all the waste. Think of all the runoff. Think that. Now I've got micro cameras looking at every single plant. It looks at the plant and says, "Is this a healthy plant? Leave it alone. If this is a sick plant, put a little dose of fertilizer on. If this is a weed, put some herbicide on." Right? And you heard them mention deep learning. Deep learning says, "Yeah, we know we've taught it what pigweed looks like." But now it sees a ragweed plant, okay? And it recognizes it's not a plant. It's not the plant. This must be some weed I've never seen before. So I'm going to catalog that. And then I'm going to, as I keep seeing that, go to, oh, there's that pigweed again. And I'm now learning that this is another kind of a weed.
You think the average small farmer can afford this kind of technology, or is it only for the major corporation farmers that are?
Yeah, this is very important. This is the See and Spray system developed by Blue River Technology. John Deere bought all Blue River Technology because they want to use this in other places as well. And this is something a small farmer could afford. Right, this is a reasonable, and you see it works with the existing tractor. It's just another rig that they pull behind. And it's actually probably returns within 10 years, probably returns the investment on because of the less fertilizer and less herbicide that they use, in addition to leaving the ground in better shape for next year's crop. So, yeah.
This is step one. How does the machine, the robot, get initial picture of the plant?
How does it get an initial? I'm repeating it for the people online. So how does it get an initial picture? So initially, what they do is they just take a bunch of pictures of pigweed, and they feed that into the algorithm.
They is
the computer programmers, the programmers who design it. The company, they create this starting database, and you don't need that many pictures actually. And then they put it in the field, and they have a little camera. You see a bunch of little cameras, a little camera as they're pulling it through the field, moving, right? It sees a plant and it says, okay, quickly, let's figure out what that picture is. Just like you would as a human. If you saw that, if I put you on the back of the tractor with a little spray gun and I said, just hit every weed with it, you'd look at that and go, oh yeah, that's pigweed. And you'd hit it with a spray gun. The camera does the same thing. As the camera goes to the base. Also, it says, oh gee, this pigweed's a little different than a pigweed I saw before. This one's slightly different color. Let me just log that that's also pigweed, right? And so the characteristics of pigweed, it eventually develops this internal map that says anything that looks like this is probably pigweed. And if you show me something that's not quite, I can figure out, is this more likely to be pigweed or more likely to be a plant or more likely to be something I haven't seen before and take according action. Yeah, so just incredible.
But the big thing is the computer never gets bored with this incredibly tedious repetitive task.
Right, and it's incredibly fast. So let me. What else could you use this? Well, you could use it for facial recognition, right? Right. You could determine things. So think of like anti-terrorism, right? I could spot the terrorist in the airport. China uses this extensively now. Okay. And it's kind of the good and bad, right? Do we feel comfortable? There are cameras all over the place. We don't realize how many cameras are there in the airport, not just the airport, just traffic cameras, everything else. The Internet of Things says we can connect up anything that can see the internet, right? We can connect all together, right? So I could now make a map and I could tell you every place that you've gone, everywhere you've been, right? Do we feel comfortable with that? But turns out most of us don't feel comfortable with that. Feel that's kind of prying, right? So we're doing that. But one of the things that they're doing is to give us the advantages of this, they're kind of giving this away. So good example is Facebook. I don't know if anybody saw a couple months ago, you started to get these kind of Facebook ads that say, oh, we saw you in a picture. Okay, well, how did that work? Well, you did Face ID with your Facebook. It knows what your face looks like. And now anytime it sees you in a picture, it says, oh, gee, one of your friends just posted a picture. We think it's you. That could be it. Okay. And you could go and say, hey, don't post my picture. That was an embarrassing moment. I don't want my friends to see that. Or, hey, that's great. I'm going to repost it to my page, etc. So Facebook did this. It turns out that a lot of people are really uncomfortable with that. And so Facebook really took down this capability. But your Face ID in your iPhone or your Android does the same thing, right? It's got a picture of your face. Notice that it can recognize it's you if you're looking ahead, if you're looking sideways, dark light, bright light, etc. It turns out that at the top of your iPhone is a little couple infrared cameras. And when you do Face ID, it's actually using the infrared cameras. It's not using the regular cameras, which is why you could do Face ID in complete darkness, and your phone would still pick it up. It's you. And it makes a little map, thousands of little dots all over your face, makes a little map of it. And then, so if you've turned your face slightly, it still recognizes that's you. If I put glasses on, it recognizes you. If I grew a mustache, it would still recognize it's me. That's all part of the algorithm because the algorithm's learned. You know, your grandchildren or your friends would recognize you if you had glasses on. The algorithm does the same thing. It's learning like a human. It's doing the same sort of thing. All facial recognition. So kind of the good and bads of those kinds of things.
So the infrared is more reliable?
Yeah.
So the infrared is more reliable than optical? What, because of the ambient lighting changes?
Yeah, because the ambient light. Infrared's more out.
Thanks.
And actually uses less processing than optical light as well. So there's a whole new field called natural language processing. And this is very interesting. And there were some geeky kind of breakthroughs that led to the fact that natural language processing took a huge jump in capability just in the last 5 years. So I don't know if anybody ever had the Dragon speaking program. It was a program you could use to record things on your computer if you didn't have a secretary to take dictation for you. You could dictate into the thing and it would do it. And it was about 80% correct. It wasn't very good. Well, the algorithms have gotten much, much better. And that's why you see Siri and Alexa now doing a much, much better job of recognizing. It's not just recognizing the words too, it's also understanding the context. So if I ask Siri, how do I get rid of beetles, right? It recognizes that I mean Beetles the bug, not Beetles the baby. It understands context. If I say, what time does Home Depot open? It knows I probably mean the Home Depot closest to me, and so it's going to give me that as a first choice. And it knows that I want to know it in my time zone. There's a lot of contextual information like that, and that's what's amazing is these systems just learn. Think of these systems like a child. They're going to get smarter. They're going to understand more and more things.
Yeah, Rick, this seems to have progressed so rapidly that now with Zoom and all of the online group things, it will caption and minute the meeting and even produce summaries automatically.
Yeah, as an educator, we do a lot of Zoom classes, and Zoom will tell me if a student's not paying attention. Gee, I've noticed their eyes are off over here. They're probably reading their email or playing Angry Birds or something, right? And I can get a record like that. It'll give records of who was active in a meeting. It'll make minutes of meetings, etc. Natural language processing is huge because that's the way we communicate with each other. So it's very natural to say to Siri, hey, set a timer for 10 minutes, right? And have Siri understand that. Eventually, right, our children won't talk to the machines. They'll think those thoughts and those machines will do that. We've already done some experimentation. We'll just think, set a timer, and it will absolutely read our minds and do that. So this is going to be, but within 5 years, that will be just the way we interface with everything. We won't type things on the computer. We'll just say stuff. We won't need to know an operating. It won't make a difference Mac versus PC versus anything else, because you'll just talk to your computers the way you talk to Siri, etc. And it'll do things and it'll correct things. Yes, you said Lowe's, but I know you meant Home Depot because you shop more frequently at Home Depot, right? It will learn that. You are already seeing a whole new wave, and this is all powered by this recent jump in natural language processing algorithms that just hit. You're seeing all kinds of apps on your phone. So I have an app on my phone called Calorie Mama, and I can just point it at a picture of my food, and it'll tell me how many calories are in that food.
Whoa.
I mean, it could be a whole meal, a whole plate of food. It just figures that out automatically. It actually can see the side of it, and it'll say, "Give me another picture," if it can't tell. Just like a human would be, right? You could have a dietitian who would look at your plate of food and say, "Hey, that's about 2,000 calories," right? Elsa is a language tutor that just talks to you naturally, and if you're having a problem with something, it recognizes that you're struggling with conjugating this verb. Let me give you some other examples, etc. Or I can see this is going a little too fast a pace for you. Let me slow it down. Really revolutionizing education as universities. You're seeing it now. You're going to see it in our grade schools, where just individual tutoring is going to go way up because there's going to be. Will they eventually replace teachers? My feeling is yeah. Probably in the next generation, there won't be classroom teachers the way we think about it. It'll be online, these tutors. I think nobody will go to school. I think everybody will learn it at home. You'll just sit in front of your tutor, and it will just teach you what you need to know, and it will do it. And it will probably just start to be, we'll start to meld the idea of being at school or being at work or being at home. We'll constantly be learning, we'll constantly be doing work, we'll constantly be doing that, and you'll just move in and out of your day seamlessly, and the computer will control all that. You know, you'll say, let me read my email, and it will just do your email and say, oh, well, let me, show me a video on cats playing piano, and it'll do that. And so it'll just totally meld this idea we have of work and home and school. You just be living your life. Yeah.
I'm thinking of money. People will need money to have this equipment, and our kids now can go to school. So how can we help those that maybe don't have the cash?
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult thing, because people with more money can build better computers. Turns out to build these machine learning models, the bigger the model you build, think of it, the more synapses in your brain, the faster you could think, the better you could think, the more difficult situations you could resolve. It's the same thing. So right now, only large corporations can build the kinds of really amazing models. Think Google, Microsoft, Alphabet, those kind of major computer companies are doing all the cool work. How many people know about ChatGPT? Okay, so those of you that don't, ChatGPT is a personal assistant. It's basically a computer program. I use it every week, and it basically can compose things for you. Okay. The originators of ChatGPT, a group called OpenAI, which was bought recently by Google, right? Because they wanted huge, massive computers that could train and run these systems. And once I train them, I can put them out and they can learn more specifically. But it takes money to do that. And so that's the worry. We can talk more about kind of future directions and what we ought to do ethically. But one of the things we have to figure out is how to make that available to everybody. I will say that so far, the big computer manufacturers have been great. Amazon, for example, huge investment in artificial intelligence, and they've opened up, I think it's 100,000 spots in their main AI course to underprivileged citizens. So huge opportunity.
Do you see government moving in to control this or to regulate these companies?
Yeah. I think this is scary, and maybe I'll hold off the scary discussion to the end. but yeah, and I think that's, for me as a tech geek, that's a problem. We'll talk about that. Let me hold that off. I will show you a couple of examples, and then I guarantee we'll get back to it. Aura can track your mood, right? There's a whole class of these kind of personal assistants. There's a program called Seeing Eye, very useful if you're blind. Seeing Eye, put your AirPods on, and Seeing Eye just looks at your whole field and says, okay, your friend Mark is coming up here. He's about 10 feet away. Stop here, the traffic light's red. Wait, I'll tell you when it's safe to cross. Right? So some huge advantages there for people with any kind of impairment, vision impairment, etc. Microsoft Bing, search engines are dramatically changing. It used to be, probably for most of you, when you put something in a search engine, you have to really think, well, what is it I really want to search? And then often you get 10 million hits that weren't what you wanted. Search engines are now getting AI empowered, which is now they're figuring out, oh, this is the question that Rick wanted to ask. He didn't ask it quite well. Here's what he's probably looking for. I know yesterday he was looking at, India, and he went online and he was shopping for airline tickets. So he's probably planning to an India trip. So when he talks about food, he's probably thinking about like foodie tours that he could take when he's in the. By the way, let me look at where he plans to stop, and we'll tell him. One of my friends recently used ChatGPT. They were going on vacation. They said, I'm going on vacation to this area. You know what I like. plan a vacation for me. And like a personal planner, it said, okay, here's great restaurants with the kind of food you like. Here's places that you'll probably be interested in, right? And so it planned just a whole marvelous vacation for him, including where to buy the cheapest tickets, what's the cheapest hotel that fit his criteria, you know, it knew from all the past things that he's done.
Rick, so I've had a little experience with that one too, and it is nice because one thing that was a perennial annoyance for me is if I put in a search string that had 5 words in it, it would match any one of the 5 words. It's like, no, the entire idea. And it's getting much better at that.
Yeah.
Oh, but looping back to the, you know, sort of scale up of this being ubiquitous.
Yeah. Let me turn my volume on.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reason I'm doing it in the mic is so that people online will hear. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, but the thing about the scaling to huge numbers of users and ubiquity and all that stuff. One of the things I worry about, you know, we talked about availability to less affluent people, but another thing I worry about a lot is power consumption.
Yeah.
Because every one of these GPUs consumes like 100 to 200 watts. And they have these networks that have 10,000 of them or 100,000 of them, or the more the better. It's like times 100 watts. That's a huge amount of power. And so the environmental consequences of this, I mean, this was already true before with cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. A huge amount of energy was being, in that case, I think, wasted. But in this case, it's the same technology. It's these GPUs, graphical processing units. NVIDIA's stock has gone insane in the last year. But the thing is, that has colossal environmental consequences.
Yeah.
So that's something to think
lots
about.
Of consequences,
Yeah.
But GPUs are the specialized computer chips that power this AI. And right now, China cranks out more of them. NVIDIA is close behind or about even right now, but they can't pump them out fast enough. Yeah, if you want to invest in AI, buy NVIDIA stock. They're the ones that have the driver's seat.
In the future, 50 years from now, we're going to be getting power from the sun.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, the power from the sun is going to open up, that's what we need.
We hope.
Yeah. Well, Stanford just made that thing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But you do that. I want to show you what this assistant is. Anybody here played with Google Assistant? Okay. So Google Assistant is a personal assistant. Think of it just, you're talking to your computer, but think of your computer as an assistant. And what you can do is just say, hey, Google Assistant, go make a haircut appointment for me, right? And it's going to take over with natural language processing like Siri talks to you. It's going to talk to you. It can dial the phone. It can do this. I want to show you an example of Google Assistant. So what this person did is said, Google Assistant, make a haircut appointment for me. Here's what response.
See how may I hear you?
Hi, I'd like to reserve a table for Wednesday the 7th.
For 7 people?
It's for 4 people.
4 people when? Today?
Next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Oh, actually we reserve for like after like 5 people. For 4 people you can come.
How long is the wait usually to be seated?
For when, tomorrow or weekday or?
For next Wednesday, the 7th.
Oh no, it's not too busy. You can come for 4 people, okay?
Oh, I gotcha. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Recognized she wasn't listening or didn't understand the question. She talked with a heavy accent. Google Assistant still figured that out. figured out that she couldn't address what she wanted with a reservation, so they backed up with something else. Okay, well, tell me about the weight, right? Knowing that the weight was important, right? None of that was fed in. Google Assistant just figured out, like your assistant, like a personal assistant would, that those are reasonable questions to ask that you would have wanted to know when making a reservation. Okay.
Hey, Google, who is Rick Hefner?
You can tell it to pay bills for her. Right?
Somebody else's money.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting one. Again, good and bad. Replica is an AI friend. Some of your grandkids are maybe using Replica already. And you basically talk to it like a friend, right? And it understands your moods, it asks you questions, it communicates just like a real human. You would not know that there wasn't a human on the other end of this, right? And it learns over time. Hey, I've learned that when I talk about your aunt, you get real sensitive. I'm not going to talk about your aunt, right? I can tell that today you're a little angry, right? So I'm going to adopt something different. Hey, what's wrong with you? Okay. There's a number of these kind of healthcare, counseling, replica friends. Okay, now, right, so all the guys are going, okay, a girlfriend. I could have a girlfriend. I could teach it not to argue with me. I could teach it to be wildly supportive. Yeah. And that's the problem, right? Now, put that in a robot body. Now we're starting to talk about some ethical issues, right? And we're starting to blur the line between what's a humanoid and what's a human, right? Okay. These are problems that our kids are going to have to deal with, our children, and we're going to see that in our lifetime. We're going to see those kind of things. I was in Japanese airport a few years ago, or I'm sorry, Chinese airport, and it was a robot assistant talking to me at the help desk, and could talk to me in English, could relate things just fine. Okay. Couple of other examples. Transportation, dramatically changing the way. Tesla is kind of leading the way, but now you see other cars. You see cars that can automatically park themselves for you. In 10 years, none of us will be driving. Everything will be robotic. In 5 years, I believe all the semis will be robotically driven. Except my brother was a semi driver, incredibly boring, dangerous, long hours, low pay, perfect place to put a robot to just replace that. So all the semi trucks that drive all over the nation will be. Already, most of the trains are robotic. Okay, they typically have a human there, but frankly, I would trust the computer to respond more quickly than a human and more consistently, and to be able to judge situations. But that means we have to do things like teach the computer ethics, right? Everybody know the trolley example? Well, there's a trolley, you have your hand on the controls, you see the trolley, and it's either going to go on track A and kill 5 people, or track B and kill 1 person, okay? It's on track A now, ready to kill 5 people. You can switch the trolley over to track B and only kill 1 person. Do you do that? Okay, 1 person dying versus 5 people dying. Yeah, maybe I would do that, right? Okay, now that 1 person on the track is a young person, prime of their life, maybe in studying cures for cancer. 5 people at the end of their life. Okay, this audience probably still switches over and kills the next. Now the person on the track is your best friend. Now the person on track is your son or daughter. Okay, that's a real ethical dilemma for us. Think of what an ethical dilemma that's like for an AI system, right? But we have to teach it those ethics. We also have to worry about bias. One of the places they're using AI now is to screen resumes, okay? But you could build, if you tell the AI program what a good resume is, you could build your biases into that resume, right? Into that resume review process. Okay. The big thing we don't understand is it's all over. It is everywhere already. We are already seeing that. It's not a question of stopping AI. AI is here, right? It's a question of how do we control it? How do we harness it? Let me tell you an area we're all near dear to us, robotic surgery. Most immigrant surgeries now are all robotic assisted. By robotic assisted, what I mean is this is a system called Da Vinci, actual system being used today, and the surgeon sits at a console and stares into that little hood, and it basically the computer can bring up 3D models of things that the surgeon would not be able to see with their eyes, but they can show that the surgeon can guide the instruments. So, for example, Da Vinci knows if you got a little tremor in your hand, as a surgeon, it will never see that. It will take that tremor out, but it will still use the skill of the surgeon. But it will show them things that they can't physically see. It will show them situations. It'll make suggestions. Hey, in this suggestion, we suggest you cut here versus here, right? Based on looking at the last 10,000 cases where this situation has come up. Okay. So, I mean, amazing things. It's just one of many healthcare things. Disease diagnosis, reading x-rays and MRIs, going back through medical records, doing research. Who else has had this form of cancer and how have they responded to various treatments? And what do we think would be best? Patient records, already revolutionizing the health business, already in most of our health stuff. We just don't think about it. Yeah, oh yeah, I use the computer to do this. Well, there was an AI system behind all of that. A whole new area that's coming on now called generative AI. So generative AI means I can generate something using AI. I can create something. Writers' strike recently. Everybody know what one of the main things? It wasn't so much about money. You know what the big thing was? Artificial intelligence. Will the studios use artificial intelligence to simply write scripts? I can take ChatGPT right now, and I can say, write me a script. It's a comedy. Here are the characters. Here are the quirkinesses. Write me a script about how they have trouble making a restaurant reservation, and it will write me a full script, and it will do it in about a minute. Yeah. I use it now every day to things like write marketing copy, write letters to people, etc. It takes care of all of them. Okay. Now, does it have the creativity? Maybe not, but most people watching TV is not terribly creative. And it can learn the creativity over time. I can say, write this letter in a conversation style because I'm writing my sister, or it knows it's writing my sister, and I'm taking I would take a different tack there than I would take with a professional colleague. Okay, I'm angry and I want to write a complaint letter about this product, right? Find the head of the company, write a letter, mention things that the warranty, etc. And it looks all that up for me, right? And then I have to do it.
I didn't send that, my computer did.
That's right. Okay. Computer made me do it. I can say create a poem. I can say here's create a poem. Put these kind of people in it. One of the guys on the guy ski trip recently created a poem about one of a recent ski trip, and he said, mention Larry and Rick and blah, blah, blah. Talk about when we couldn't get into this restaurant and when so-and-so fell down the mountain. And it made this beautiful, really lovely, quite interesting poem like that with all that information, right? You can say, write me a song. Here's the topic. I want it to be upbeat, kind of jazzy style, right? You can say, more recently, draw me a picture. Give me a picture of a man in his 40s wearing glasses who looks studious, right? And it makes a picture, and the picture looks as real as any other picture. It's freaky to think there's no human on the planet like that. It just created this individual the same way Picasso would create an individual, but it's the quality of a picture, right? You see marketing copy now, they say, okay, make a picture with a young girl in a field of flowers, and she's dancing and she's holding a can of Coca-Cola, and it signifies joy and happiness, right? And boom, there's the picture. So all of our marketing copy is rechanged. All of the help desks jobs are gone, replaced by AI, right? It is going to be revolutionary, and it's going to happen now. It's already happening now, and it's going to happen within our lifetimes. Yeah.
Is that going to influence humor too, in the sense of the cartoons that we see in the paper and stuff?
Yeah, it's going to influence humor, because they'll draw cartoons, and they'll be able to draw from real life. Anything a human can do, that's going to do. It's blurred lines. We used to think that it couldn't be creative, but creativity is a learned process. So if the algorithms can learn, it can learn creativity just the way we would learn. It can just learn it a million times faster. Yeah.
What are humans going to do? What are we going
What will humans
do?
What will humans do?
If we don't work, are we just going to be on vacation?
I think that's a really good question. I don't think we know yet. I think it could be that our lives will just be leisure. I mean, somehow we'll have to figure out how to distribute money and who should get money for doing what. There will be some people that will have to train these systems and develop these systems and develop the next generation system. There'll be people that have to build the hardware, that goes into this. But any job where you learn, pick a job that you don't learn, right? Any job that there's a skill that you learn, we can learn, right? You already have video games, right? Where it creates all the players and they play a game, and it's perfectly fine. And some people sit and watch those games or play, as one of the team members, right? So will we need athletics? Will we have the Lakers and the Dodgers and humans there? We probably will have computer versions of that, right? It's going to be mind-blowing. It's going to be a huge, tremendous change for us.
How is this affecting the political system now?
Okay. Good question, Sheila. So one of the things that you probably heard of something called deep fakes. Okay, so a deep fake is a computer generated picture, video, audio recording, etc., that can sound exactly like the humans involved, right? So I could, maybe I couldn't, I don't have that skill, but one of my colleagues could create a video with a political candidate saying something very unflattering, inappropriate, to alienate thing. And I could put that up, and there was no way you could tell, or most experts could tell, that wasn't a real video of that person doing something. Video of a person caught in a compromised position, etc. Right? So we're going to have to be really careful what we presented, because our eyes and our ears will deceive us. I'll tell you a scam that's going around. Recently, I heard there was a young girl, and she had recorded some TikTok videos, right? Her friends playing, talking to her friends, whatever, right? Bad guys found the videos. They used the AI system to extract the sound of her voice, not the words, the sound of her voice, the way she phrased things, the things she talked about, and made a AI system. The AI system called her grandfather and said, we have your daughter. Would you like to speak to her? And the AI voice, in her mannerisms, said, Grandpa, they have me. Please pay them whatever they need, blah, blah, blah. Knew things from her Facebook page, new information, knew things about her grandfather, knew the nickname that she called him, everything, right?
Wow.
Because he thought it was his granddaughter, and he paid a whole bunch of money. Luckily, before he could get the money to them, they actually were able to detect it, cybercrime. So let me talk a little bit about the political part, right? what should we do? Okay, so you'll hear people say, oh, we ought to have a moratorium on AI. We shouldn't do anything until we can think about how we're going to use this, right? Fine idea, except the bad guys are not going to stop, right? So this is like, oh, well, let's just refund all the police for 6 months and maybe the bad guys will just stop. Well, no, I don't think they will. My personal opinion is we need active research and we need people looking into the cybersecurity parts of this and to the safeguarding parts of this. And if the bad guys are going to create these deep fake videos and deep fake audios, we need people on our side figuring out how do you tell it's a deep fake audio. So for example, as an educator, students in my classes can use ChatGPT to generate their homework, right? And not read any of the material or do any of the work, right? So if I ask them an essay question, they submit me an essay, I'd like to know if it was written by ChatGPT. So I have tools I can use that can read those essays and say, hey, this was more than likely generated by ChatGPT. But for sure, more than likely. We need the same thing for cybersecurity, where we can check so people can tell what's a deep fake. Like you have people now who can say, that's not a real Picasso, I can tell. You have curators who know the difference, right? We need computer algorithms that can spy on other computer algorithms and tell that. So I think we have to keep the research going to counter any bad guys' use of AI. I also want the better health care. I want systems that assist my doctor. I want better cancer diagnosis. I want better treatment programs, right? I like the convenience of Siri and Amazon and other kinds of things. And so we're going to want all the advantages of it. So we got to keep in there. It's just a race against time. There are bad guys out there that want to do bad things. We just have to research things and keep up with them.
So are most of the jobs going to be in trying to figure this all out?
Yeah, I think a lot of jobs are going to be in either training these systems or in figuring out how to protect ourselves from the negative consequences.
And how do teachers now figure out what a fifth grader is writing?
What a fifth grader? There are AI programs you can put their material through a tool. I can help you, and it'll tell you whether it was more than likely written by an AI system or more than likely written by a person. They're a little bit, let's see, they can be easy to fool, but typically the students that are using them to cheat don't know how to fool them. So.
And are most teachers now, are these systems available to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Available for free. I can hook you up.
Thank you.
There were a lot of people who were saying that, yeah.
I'll just repeat the question.
Okay. There were a lot of people saying that we had a problem with hallucinations.
Yeah.
You would ask for a technical paper from ChatGPT. It would make up references for studies that had never been conducted.
Yes.
In real journals or in fake journals. And you actually had to go to the library and look for the journal and see if the article was
It's interesting. Yeah. So these are called hallucinations. And just like sometimes, think of like a personal assistant you have. And sometimes they just kind of go off the farm and, do a bunch of stuff. And it's like, no, that's not at all what I wanted. And what are you thinking? And, just seems kind of nonsensical. So the AI systems can do the same thing. We call them hallucinations. And it actually happened to me. I wanted to write a abstract that we turn in for a conference I wanted to present at. It was actually an abstract on AI. And I pulled up ChatGPT and I said, write the abstract for me and include 5 references, right? And it can access all of the internet. So it has access and it can read everything on the internet. It has read everything on the internet. So it knows everything. And it wrote this really beautiful abstract for me and put 5 references in it. And I looked at the references and I thought, oh my God, I haven't read any of these. These are good references. and they were all made up. They were references. And then I said to it, no, don't make up references, give me real references. and it said, oh, okay, sorry. And then it adjusted it, right? Just like, so, AI systems can lie to you just like a personal assistant. You have to think of this like a personal assistant, right? This is just somebody who could do this. It's going to help you. And I will say that a lot of times what it writes for me isn't my voice. And so it's a question of kind of training it. No, I like to be a little bit more formal in this, or I would like to be a little bit, more conversational here, or bring out this point. They call that prompt engineering. And so it's a question of, just like you learn to talk to a personal assistant and you learn to explain how much detail you have to give it and what things they're likely to get confused, it's the same thing with the algorithms. The big things, like a personal assistant, they learn over time. Oh, he likes his coffee with cream and sweetener. Okay, great. So it learns over time. Oh yeah, you like yours a little bit more formal. Oh, you like bullet points, blah, 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 right? It learns that over time. And so ChatGPT has gotten much better now at generating something closer for me as a first draft.
But you could write it yourself then. I mean, you recognize what this person is doing right or wrong. And I'm thinking, you're the writer. Get your pencil up.
Yeah, so that's a question. So that's what the writer's strike was all about, right? Is it the person giving the prompts that's the author, or is it ChatGPT is the author?
That's what I want.
If I say, make me a poem, and I give it all the details, and it makes a poem, did I write the poem? Or, see, that whole idea we think of as authorship is going to get goofy, right? Right? If I ask one of my persons to research some topic in engineering now, and they give me a bunch of bullet points, I expect that they pulled those out of some article someplace. Not word for word, but they read the article, they understood it, and they gave it back to me in their own words. That's what ChatGPT is doing. So is it me writing the article or the computer? Is it fair? Is it not fair? As an educator, we're struggling with this. We haven't decided yet, right? I want you to go, I don't want you to just go invent stuff. I want you to go do some research. ChatGPT is just like research on steroids. Is that fair? I don't know. It's a good question. What's your work? What's plagiarism? Larry.
Pretend you're a job counselor or student.
I'll repeat it.
Junior high school or high school, if you were talking to kids today's world, how would you advise them on their future going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have computer skills, get involved in AI. It's going to take over all the computer work that we know, all the really interesting stuff anyway. So definitely machine learning, languages like Python, computer languages and stuff like that, make a major push into computer. If you're a counselor, if you're not in computer work, right, look for a career where the human touch is critically important, where it's not just about learning. I would never counsel somebody, go be a help desk person, right? First of all, chatbots are replacing all the help desks now, right? If you called up anything, right, and you talk to the machine, first of all, the machine can speak my language. It can speak without a strong accent that I would understand. So I'd actually rather speak to a machine if it's smart enough. In the next 2-3 years, they're going to be smart enough where you'll have to much prefer talking to a machine than you would talk to a human who'd have to look up stuff, who wouldn't know, who could give you the wrong answer, blah, 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 right? So don't go into any field like that. Go into a field where the creativity is a big part of it. You want to be an artist? Great, we'll still need artists. You want to be a musician? We'll still need musicians. I worry 10 years from 20 years from now, because I think we'll be back in a rosy situation. I don't think we'll know I don't think we'll think of work in the same way. I don't think there'll be any jobs like we took with anybody who gets with their hands on something. But, right now we have robots that will do a lot of that stuff for you too, right? So, dentists.
Are there,
Oh my God.
are there any?
So,
But Rick, how do you?
A robot in my mouth. No.
Given all the misinformation out there,
when it's out there collecting, you know, resources or whatever, how do you know that these are accurate resources? Because you can't really look something up. I mean, Wikipedia is pretty good, but you can't say it's 100% accurate.
Well, and that's that's another difficulty, right? Just like when your kids say, oh, I saw it on the internet. Well, you know, we all know the internet's got some factual information. The nice thing is if I scour all the internet, if I take a broad enough, I can usually sort fact from fiction, okay? So that leads to another issue, right? You have all these governments saying, oh, well, we want to take down the non-factual sites. Okay, be careful, because your version of the truth, my version of the truth might be different, right? So we really want an unbiased version of the truth. Somebody says, you know, Columbus, you know, discovered the world in, you know, 1945. We probably want to label that as incorrect because we all agree that that's incorrect. But there is a flat Earth society, right? And they would say, you know, the Earth is flat. Okay, we have to decide what things we factually know and what things are merely opinions.
Even though you think that, you know, you ask AI to write an article for you, but you have to spend time verifying whatever it's written is actually true.
So we're going to have a lot of that, but as we teach systems, they'll get better at it. You know, we use the power of people to teach Wikipedia what's right and what's wrong. And the fact is that everybody can read a Wikipedia article. If I read a Wikipedia article and it's factually incorrect, I can submit a correction, right? So we'll need to find those same mechanisms for the AI system to say what are the, quote, facts that we can base things on, and then we'll get less and less. When I ask Siri what time Home Depot doesn't open, I don't expect that it doesn't know the answer. I expect that it looks it up. And occasionally, Home Depot has a holiday or something, and it's different, and Siri wasn't able to catch that, and it's occasionally wrong, but it's still going to be right a lot more than if I ask my neighbor, right? And so that's it. So they won't be infallible. These computers won't be infallible, but they'll still be more right than any other source that we have.
Yeah. So Rick, do you know of any games or things that we can give our grandchildren to help them understand these things?
Yeah, there are some AI systems online that will help you learn about AI. And Sheila, if you'll contact me, I'll give you some things. Lots of fun AI things in the phone, which are educational and we'll teach them and are actually AI powered.
Would love to have a list of those for 13-year-old.
Okay, good. We'll work on one for you.
And just one other thing on the deep fakes. I mean, just a reminder that is probably going to be a big thing in this election.
Yeah.
So if you hear anything that seems really off on either side, coming from either side, you know, research it or question it before you pass it on.
Yeah, just like looking up things on the web. Multiple sources you trust, sources that have been more reliable. Just like, you know, wander out here and some vagrant on the street tells me something, I may not totally believe it, you know, aliens are attacking. Okay, good. That might be true. I probably would put my faith in CNN before I would do that, but you know, you might be right. Same thing, especially on these deepfakes. And for God's sake, if you're in a situation and it's about money, it's like the emails. Oh, I'm the Prince of Nigeria and I'm going to send you $1 billion. Just send me 100 to get it started, right? Just be aware of those kind of things. Just don't panic. And if you have any questions, call me. I deal with this stuff every day. I know what the fakes look like. Most of the time I can sniff them out. So there's been over 24 people in this congregation that have been scammed by computers, and about 6 people that I've helped stop before they got scammed. So please don't. You all have my number. Call me. I don't mind doing it. It's one of the things I know how to do.
Wikipedia has opinions too.
Yeah, Wikipedia has opinions. Yeah.
I look up something. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be stating facts. But I was shocked that they were spewing.
It's difficult because we tend to, have confidence in these large organizations, but the people running those organizations have political and social biases just like the rest of us. So
And Wikipedia is by people, right? It's not by AI.
Yeah, Wikipedia was written by people. It's now AI.
So is AI being taught at every university?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we have classes at Caltech on it, and it is the most popular class that we offer right now, which is it's basically AI for geeks. We teach the science behind the AI stuff. So how to build these programs, how to train these programs, what algorithms to use under what situation. So
Or how about teaching coaches in football?
yeah,
Stuff?
oh yeah,
Do they have?
they have those. They have those. They're just starting to. Let's say you've seen that in sports for the last couple of years, where you suddenly see statistics powered by blah blah blah. You suddenly see that reported, or they say, oh, I don't know if you ever watched the ball game. They say, well, this person had a 47% chance of catching this long pass, right? Those statistics are all AI generated, and coaches are using those. They're not talking about them, but I know a couple of coaches who use my colleagues who look at statistics and say, okay, this batter that's coming up, in the third inning of a home game, they're more likely to swing on this kind of a pitch than any other pitches. This pitcher, when it's an inning, 2 games back to back, and they've been off for at least 10 days, are more likely to throw this pitch with the count of 2-2. And you can get tremendous advantages out of that. And that's just data analysis. That's not even throwing AI on top of it, which they're just starting to do. What? Absolutely. Us geeks are taking over the world. We're just letting you live in it.
Retribution.
Good. Okay. Well, I think we've used up pretty much of our time. Maybe one more question.
Gambling now is spread around the country. Sports teams in Vegas.
Yeah.
All sports teams have their own gambling.
Yes.
How is AI affecting gambling?
So AI is being used now by a select few gamblers to get a distinctive edge over the rest of us. So you're following the Jaguars, and you bet or don't bet based on a few things you hear about. And if I've got an AI engine and I know 10,000 more things than you, I probably can place a better bet than you can do. So you're seeing that, and nobody has outlawed AI in gambling yet. So, okay. Hey, thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you so much, Rick. Okay, next week we have Gary Hartzell, who'll be talking to us about some of the minor characters, so-called minor characters in the Christmas story. So we'll be talking about people like Herod, Quirinius, and there's a third one, and I forgot his name, but we'll be talking about that next week. So that'll be a nice, and we all love Gary Hartzell, so that'll be a nice lead up to Christmas. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mary.